Well, what's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video, and today is actually my birthday, GBP baby's birthday, so let's give ourselves a round of applause. It's 2 years on YouTube now. Thank you so much. We just hit 2,500 subscribers, so yeah, thank you to everyone, and let's dive straight into things. So of course we're going to start on dollar. We are going to start on the weekly, and the reason for that is because we can see how price is starting to push a lot more aggressively higher than anticipated. You can see today we did trade into this imbalance as I anticipated quite nicely. However, you can see price pulled back quite aggressively on itself, and it's starting to look it's starting to move higher towards some swing highs. And on the weekly, the only point which I'd be happy for price to start trading up towards is this bearish order block open. So I am going to mark that out, as I'm happy for price to trade up into that. And we do have high impact news tomorrow at 8:30. Of course, as well. So I am expecting there to be continued movement and a lot of aggression. This week has been difficult in general, so try not to be too hard on yourselves, but generally speaking, I am expecting another up close day as we move into Friday. It is interesting to see how price tapped down into this imbalance, failed to fill it, and then managed to trade away from it. It does show a level of bullishness. However, I am still respectively bearish on the higher time frames, and we'll talk more on that on Sunday. But generally, moving into Friday, I wouldn't be surprised if price continued to run. Now, I don't expect us to necessarily reach all the way up to this level tomorrow. That would be kind of disturbing. However, we do have yesterday's high, which I believe we're going to target, and then potentially this Thursday high as well from last week. So if we drop down to the lower time frames, we can find out what PD arrays we have marked out. And you can see on the 4 hour here, it looks like we've closed. Is this a 1 hour fair value gap? Right, so we're closing above a fair value gap, but we'll talk on that in a second. Let's just take another look at the 4 hour, and you can see how beautifully price has ran out this buy side liquidity, and then it looks like we're tapping back into this range again, and we've also taken out the highs that were created in this range from earlier today. So if you watched yesterday's video, you'll know that I wanted price to pretty much respect this range right here on the hourly. I was saying I don't want to see price trade above it, and you can see we pretty much didn't until obviously after hours, after 4 p.m. But we traded nicely up to the 50% level of this range, which is an inversion fair value gap, and then price aggressively traded lower, looking like it's going to fill the range, just missing that Sunday opening price, and then we've had a full-on reversal, and price is now closing above it. So because this is a fair value gap, I am expecting it to act as support tomorrow, which is why I'm expecting price to continue to rally. Also, it's very doubtful that price is going to be able to pull back on itself again. The way we've been stabbing down constantly, it'll be unlikely for me to see. I'd be very surprised if price was to come back on itself again. So I'm expecting this range, if we drag that into Friday, to provide support. So let's make that black for now. And the reason is because I don't expect price to be able to trade through it. 50% will be the lowest I'd want to see price trade. So as soon as we drop below that Friday opening, sorry, I want to see price. I'll be looking for longs on dollar, expecting it to then run out that Wednesday high and start targeting this high as well. So let's get that marked out as buy side. And then again, definitely go watch yesterday's video if you haven't already, because you'll see how I was saying as soon as price starts rallying above that Thursday opening price, which it did, that's when you'd look for shorts. Beautiful shorting opportunity here, and then price dropped down below that Wednesday low. However, this reversal did catch me off guard, and I'm sure it would have caught a lot of us off guard nonetheless. So I am going to get rid of this just because this buy side has been grabbed, and now, like I said, I'm expecting this to act as an inversion fair value gap and these highs to be targeted. So let's drop down to the 15 minute and take a 5 minutes, sorry, take a closer look. And you'll see again our price turned at 8.55. We found support on top of the imbalance. You can't make this stuff up. And then you can see our price retraced back into its range. And then we had, it looks like we had, I think interest rates. This would have been the back of interest rates, and then price expanded aggressively, running out these highs. And now you can see we're just consolidating around this range. And what's interesting to see as well is the way that the fair value gap from the hourly is also translated down here in the 5 minutes. So we have the gap between this open and this low right here. You see how the fair value gap just happens to fill that range, and that just adds support onto my reasoning as to why I'd expect price to find support on top of this. Furthermore, we do have a breaker here. We have a low, we have a high, we have a lower low. So I'm looking at this high, which happens to line up with the 50% level, as a potential point where price may want to dip down, find support, and then, like I said, I'd like to see a continuation with expectations to try and take out that Wednesday high first, and then if price wants to get aggressive, take out this buy side liquidity. So that's pretty much everything I'm expecting on dollar. Just want to remain bullish. It does feel like this week I've been chasing price, and chasing price is the last thing I want to be doing, but this week has really felt like that, in that once it's dropping, I'm like, oh, let's go short, or let's expect lower prices. And then once it's rising, now I'm saying, oh, let's chase it, let's go higher. So it has been difficult in that sense, but it's days like this which catch me completely off guard, because you can see our price dipped aggressively, running exactly to our target, but then just turns on the dime and then starts to aggressively trade higher. And then obviously we had the high impact news and whatnot. So yeah, very difficult. And obviously there's everything going on in the world right now. So we are going to head on to GBP, and let's go to the weekly here as well. And obviously if we're expecting higher prices on dollar, it means we are willing to see GBP drop a little bit. So let's just clear these charts for now. And we do have an inversion fair value gap down here, so I'm not expecting price to trade down into that ideally. But on the daily, you can see how price is working its way in a fair value gap. Now ideally I'd like to think that we can keep some of it open. So you'll see between this range, what I've just marked out here, there is still range in there for price. That is, in price doesn't need to fill that. If that stays open, I'd be pretty happy. But between this high and this low, if we drag that, excuse me, if we drag that through, you'll see that we are playing around in this fair value gap, which is very classic. So if we go to the 4 hour, I'm happy for price to continue consolidating in here, but I don't really want to see us spend much time. I'm happy for price to drop down below that Friday opening price again to offer us some potential longing opportunities, but generally speaking, yeah, I don't want to see us hang around this low right here. I'd like to think it's protected, in that I don't think price is going to, I don't want to see price drop below it. So if we look at this whole bullish order block and just drag it through, you can see how we're kind of messing about in it right now. But my point is, price should, I don't want to see price take out that low. I'd like to think that this bullish order block can hold its own. Furthermore, if we look at the midpoint of it now, you can see how price has come down and tapped that, and you can see how price is trading out of that right now. But obviously we still have the whole Asia session and all sorts to get through, and there is a tiny, what's interesting to see is how price today filled this fair value gap, very small, but you can see how we came and tapped that right here, tapped it here again. So there's, you know, it's respecting PD arrays to an extent, in that it's leaving certain points open, and I'm happy for it to remain in doing so. But generally speaking, looking at the 1 hour, ideally that closing price stays intact from this order block. If we drop below that, so let's say we move into Friday and price starts dropping below that, then, you know, we'll let it run, and then it'll probably run into this inversion. It's just ideally I'd like to think we can keep seeing pound hold its own, because I'm looking to see those higher prices in line with dollar, ideally, you know, returning back down into the discount. So yeah, it's confusing conditions right now. Let's go to Euro USD. We'll start here on the daily, and obviously again, if we're expecting dollar to rally, you know, slightly towards this buy side, we want to see if euro can drop a little bit. If we go to the 4 hour and the daily, sorry, first, you'll see it's looking heavily bearish right now. But if we go to the 4 hour, you can see some relative equal lows have been created just below here. So there's definitely liquidity residing below there, but I do think that, you know, euro's got a ton of high impact news tomorrow, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of movement in terms of, you know, quite expansive movement. Let's go to the 1 hour. Again, we're taking out sell stops below here, so there's potential for price to rally on euro, and that would mean that dollar would then struggle as its rate taking out these highs. So really, realistically, this high over here, which I originally marked out, that's, to be honest, the more reasonable high to look out for is going to be this Wednesday high. It'll be interesting to see how price treats that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that as our main buy side target for now, because I'll be happy for price to rally into that. But generally speaking, I'd like to think that we can see euro and GBP rally a little bit, especially with euro having a fair value gap up here. It was interesting to see how euro traded up perfectly above our buy side liquidity, as I called out. Look at how smooth these highs are. Price managed to rally into that and turn on the dime, and then trade on lower and take out these lows. So yeah, I think we're going to consolidate a little bit, and then I'd like to think we'd see a large expansion on euro to continue, you know, dropping. Also, dollar, sorry, can rally a little bit more into the buy side. But yeah, that's going to be everything, guys. Very, very difficult week. Very confusing. Sunday will be interesting. Hopefully next week will be a lot more clear. It does feel like the markets are a mess right now, and they have been. There's only so much you can do, but generally speaking, any kind of rallying above price on Friday, I'd expect to be looking for shorts on GBP, shorts on euro, and then whilst that, I'd expect dollar to be creating its low, and then moving into the latter part of the day, I'd want to see dollar start to trade on higher in line with GBP falling, and then obviously euro dropping a little bit as well. So yeah, that's going to be everything, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like, drop a comment, smash subscribe, join the mailing list, join me on Discord as well. I am active in there. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.